The NFL has informed teams that they will be increasing the salary cap by over $20 million, $22.1 million to $26.1 million to be exact. Shaun, I got to ask you, how will this impact free agency? This now leaves the New England Patriots at the top of the list by over $25 million, having $126 million in cap space, followed by the Raiders, Commanders, and Cardinals. Shaun, what is the impact of the NFL increasing the free agency cap, and how will this impact free agency? Go ahead.
A hell of a time to be a free agent.
Right, absolutely.
They got more money to spend. Well, it's pretty black and white, hell of a time to be a free agent. I mean, you're going to see guys that probably would have got a deal for $4 or $5 million a year, get a deal for $8 million a year. That's just, what happens when they increase the cap. I mean, and then, Patriots got a bunch of money, man. The Raiders, I didn't realize the Raiders had that much in cap space. I know they got a couple of their own guys to re-sign, but, do they have enough to convince an Aaron Rodgers to come to Vegas, So it's going to be a fascinating free agent period. When does free agency start? Do you know off the top of your head?
I believe the 12th. I want to say
12th, March 12th.
4th or 12th. It's soon. I got to ask you, out of all these teams having the most cap space, who are you most excited about, and who do you expect to make a big splash in free agency? I think New England for sure. Pete Carroll and the Raiders. Chicago, I'm sure will with Ben Johnson. And anybody you think will make a big splash in free agency?
I think the team that will make the biggest splash is the Washington Commanders.
Why do you say that?
Because they're the closest.
Oh, yeah.
And when you find out that you have a, once in a generation kind of talent in Jaden Daniels, and you saw that he's ready, you got to do everything in your power to make this process easy as possible for him by putting great players around him. So I fully expect the Commanders are going to be, I'd be in the T. Higgins market. Like, I don't have the list in front of me, but I'd be trying to trade for Myles Garrett. Like, I'd be trying to make the moves that are in Vegas going to make us one of the top 3-4 betting favorites next year.
Yeah, that's right. Commanders coming off a hell of a year. Jaden Daniels is a rookie quarterback. They get Kingsbury back next year as well, and look for them to make a huge splash. Now, let me ask you to talk about some more teams on this list. Pete Carroll and the Raiders. Now they have a ton of holes I think they have to address offensively, defensively. They have a couple pieces, but definitely need to bring in some people. Who do you expect the Raiders to go after in free agency to address quarterback need? I would guess they would bring a back of some sort or drafted running back. What do you expect to see from the Raiders in free agency headed into the draft?
Shout out to my guy, John Spytek, for getting the GM job here in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
If he asked my opinion, I would bring in Jameis Winston to play quarterback. I think he's the most talented free agent quarterback. He's still relatively a young person, so if you can resurrect his career, and I don't think it needs to be resurrected. I think if you can give him a fair shot as a starting quarterback, then I think he's going to prove, and they're not going to prove to me, but prove to everybody else that I know what the hell I'm talking about.
Right. You're big on Jameis, Shaun.
I am. He's the most talented one. If there's a way that we could get Devontae Adams back, or if we want to splurge on T. Higgins, now we line up with Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, and or Devontae Adams or T. Higgins. Now we're on a level where we got enough talent in the passing game to be dangerous. I wouldn't touch the running back market because I think this is a really, really great running back class in the draft. Maybe if I can get an Aaron Jones, on a team-friendly deal, I'd do it just so I can have two backs, but I definitely would be drafting at one of these backs if I was Vegas.
Yeah, that's a great point. And
is it worth it? I'm just telling you. If I could do that come June 1st, hey, Cleveland, y'all can have next year's number one for Miles. And now I line up with Miles, Max Crosby, and Christian Wilkins. And I added Jameis and a receiver to the offense, drafted a running back to go with one of these veteran running backs. Now, all of a sudden, the rainbow doesn't seem as long. The pot of gold seems a lot closer, especially when you have this amount of cap space.
Yeah, that's very true. And Shaun, that is a great little theory there with Jameis Winston. Let me ask you, and we talked about this on JB's show a few days ago, but you're super high on Jameis Winston, and I highlighted this to a couple people. Uh, Teams seem to have not given him a real opportunity, have they? In terms of the last 4 or 5 years, I would think, what was the last time? The Saints, and then he ended up getting hurt. He had the back injury, I believe, correct?
Yeah, I think he tore his ACL against Tampa.
Oh, yeah. But
I think the Saints had started out undefeated. He was having a really great start to the year. And, it's just been hard for him to get like a legitimate starting opportunity. All the rest of them have come because of Deshaun Watson tears his Achilles or, circumstances outside of his control. So,
right.
Again, and I'm just saying based on resume, age, ability, I think Jameis is the highest caliber available quarterback in this current free agent crop. And I'm going to include Sam Darnold as one of those. I just think Jameis is more talented than Darnold. They have about the same arm talent. Jameis is slightly taller. I think Darnold might be a little more thicker, but Jameis, they're both the same kind of athlete. Neither one's going to run for 600 yards, but they can pick up first downs with their legs when they need to. I just think Jameis has the better clutch gene than Sam. Like Sam fell apart mentally on the big stage. And I don't know if you can fix that. Jameis is too damn confident. I can reel that back a little bit.
Right. Yeah. And that's a great perspective coming from you as a coach. People aren't going to discuss that. Man, yeah, that's a great perspective. I just had to get your take on Jameis Winston. Going back to free agency, I got to ask you, last team I'm going to ask you about, New England. New England has a league high, $126 million in cap space. Before we talk about them in the draft, they hold the number 4 overall pick. But what do you expect to see from New England in free agency this offseason with Vrabel as head coach?
I can see him being pretty active. I think Drake May did enough good things, in the small sample size we saw to make some offensive talent want to go to New England. Vrabel has a pretty good reputation around the league with the players, so that's going to help. And they got the money. We'll see. I mean, I don't know that this is the greatest free agent class we've ever seen, especially if Cincinnati transition tags, T. Higgins, or some of the guys that we think could be available aren't available. We just don't quite know that yet. But yeah, I think they're going to be active.
Absolutely, and I agree with you. And if you had to take a guess who they take it for, are you taking any? Would you say Travis Hunter? Would you say somebody defensively?
If Travis Hunter is there at 4, everybody should be fired in the National Football League. Travis Hunter,
great point,
and Abdul Carter are by far the generational talents in this draft class. Now, I will say this: the defensive edge position is loaded.
Facts. No,
I mean, you're going to be able to get, some guys. I just did the film yesterday. I didn't bring my notebook with me. But, man, I've got first-round grades on about 8 edge guys. So,
there's a lot of competition.
I do think Abdul Carter's the best, but if I get the kid Donovan, I'm not going to even try and pronounce his last name, from Boston College. He's just a dynamic over edge rusher. And I even got to the 2 Georgia kids, Nick Scorton from A&M, James Pierce from Tennessee. Man, this is a deep edge class. So, but Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter are the best players. So if Travis Hunter's there at 4, New England, how teams like to take the whole allotted time to make their decision? Like as soon as they say New England's on the clock, the commissioner will just read and they draft Travis Hunter.
Yeah, I agree with you. I expect Travis to go 1, but if Travis is there at 4, I can see it. Vrabel had the opportunity to play both ways. I can see it. Definitely a good fit with Christian Gonzalez in New England.
So here's what's going to be interesting on who goes number 1. I know for a fact Travis Hunter is going to go to the combine and jump 40-plus inches and run sub 4.4. He's going his short shuttle, his broad jump, all of that is going to be right on the cusp of best ever. Abdul Carter looks like he's going to go do the same thing. I'm just not as in the know about his like athleticism, but he looks when you watch him on film, he looks like he's gonna go run low 4.5, high 4.4. So I mean, to me, that's gonna go a long way in who goes number one.
That's a great point. And I mean, Tennessee holds the number one overall pick unless they trade out of it. Their defensive line is loaded. I mean, pretty damn good. You got Tavondre Sweat, Jeffrey Simmons, among other guys. Harold Landry, I believe, is still there as well. The one thing they don't have, they drafted what's his name, Caleb Farley in the first round, I believe, at corner, and ended up cutting him. That's the one reason in my head, the back of my head, I'm like, Travis could fill that void of them drafting Caleb Farley 2 years ago. Danny, agree or disagree?
I don't think that's two eggs in the same basket, but I do get your point. They have a need at cornerback, and Travis Hunter's an elite cornerback. All of this said, I don't think, Callahan is the head coach there?
Ryan Callahan, yeah.
I don't think he's going to sleep well at night if Will Levis is his starting quarterback. I think he's over Will Levis. He wants to file the divorce papers as soon as possible. So unless they go quarterback in free agency, they may be in a position where, hey, Cam Ward is by far the most talented quarterback in this draft class. Just if there's one guy that has a high ceiling, it's him. Now, whether he can reach it or not, we got to figure that part out.
Right.
But he's got the goods.
Yeah, and then, I think him or Shador could go in there. It like you said, man, it depends on fit, man. It depends on
Shador and Cam are not in the same stratosphere talent-wise.
Really?
Really.
So, man.
And it's not a knock on Shador. Drew Brees is not as talented as Jake Locker. But Drew Brees is top 3 all-time passing yardage.
Right. Great point, Shaun.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that Shador can't go and be great, but just pure talent-wise, it's not close.
Yeah, I haven't heard that name in a long time. Jake Locker was great at Washington, not so great in Tennessee. So, man, yeah, that's a hell of a point, Shaun.